So we've been doing a campaign to hire journalists and have them be real watchdogs, watchers on the wall. Not guardians of the galaxy, but guardians of democracy. And you guys have been amazing. We were trying to reach 1 million, we did. We said at every 500,000, we'd hire new folks, we did. So we went past 1 million, yes, even though there were doubters, okay? And we were trying to get now to 2 million so we could hire at every level. Well, the next level, of course, after 1 is 1.5 million when we'd have to announce new hires. Yesterday, I asked you guys to chip in to get us above 1.5 million. You did so in dramatic form. So now we are ready for the announcements. First, let me tell you where you can hire more reporters. tytnetwork.com/go. And when you look at that, you see that in fact, of course, we have passed 1.5 million, thanks to you guys. Now, we're at 1.507, and first let me just say, nice work, a great accomplishment, thank you guys. Now, of course, as I've done in previous rounds, you get to find out who you hired. This is the fun part. Here comes the first one.
You asked me earlier, why have you been in independent media? Why has that been kind of the anchor of your career? And I think if you look at traditional legacy media, what you often see is coverage that writes money almost completely out of the story. Yep. That you see these stories about, Hillary said this, or Obama did this, or Trump did this, or whatever, and it's all about the personal intrigue and the kind of gossip and gamesmanship, and stripped out of the story is actually, well, what moneyed interests are paying which political actors to shape which specific provisions that serve those moneyed interests. That is not often part of the story. The independent media is one of the only places where you can do that and cover it in a serious way.
David Sirota, one of the Young Turks. It's been a long time coming. Uprising, welcome home. And for a long time, I've called David, oh, here we go again. I've called David the Uprising because that's the title of his second book. He wrote The Hostile Takeover, The Uprising. He continues to be a great reporter at the International Business Times. He will be a contributor on the Young Turks. He's written for New York Times, Politico, Harper's, Wired, Nation, Salon. The list goes on and on. He's broken tremendous stories on what they're doing with our pensions, all the different scandals of Chris Christie, and the list goes on and on. Great journalism background, and now a contributor to the Young Turks. I couldn't be more proud, and great to have him on. And that is a piece of an interview I did with him that you can check out on youtube.com/TYT interviews very soon. Now, let's go to the second hire. Now, this time around, normally we do 2, this time we're doing 3. There is a bonus. So I think you're gonna love the next 2 folks as well. Now, for the next person, let me give you a little bit of background. Okay, first of all, let me show you who it is. It's Jonathan Larson. And Jonathan Larson is going to now be the managing editor of TYT Politics and the executive producer of TYT Politics. And so, Sirota is more outward facing, and so is the third guy, as you'll see in a second. You'll certainly recognize the third person. Now, you might say, Jonathan, you might not recognize because he's largely behind the scenes. Well, what has he done? Well, his resume is a progressive dream. So he's worked, first of all, yes, in lots of roles as producer, reporter, and uncovered many stories, including in the mainstream media on ABC, Good Morning America, CNN, Anderson Cooper 360. But also, if you're a progressive, get a load of this. He's worked on The Daily Show. He's worked on Morning Sedition on Air America with Mark Maron and Rachel Maddow. He was a high-level producer at Countdown with Keith Olbermann. When I filled in for Olbermann, Jonathan and I briefly worked together. And then he created Up with Chris Hayes. Now, if you're progressive and you watch Up with Chris Hayes, there's of course 2 people directly responsible for that, Chris Hayes and Jonathan Larson. And if you liked, if you're an upper and you liked what that program did, smart, progressive, thoughtful programming, you're gonna love what Jonathan Larson is gonna do here at the Young Turks. So he is going to coordinate all of our reporters, all of our contributors. And look, I can go on and on about all the different stories he's broken, but he broke the story of the politicization of the Bush Office of Faith-Based Initiatives, Phil Graham's role, dual role in lobbying for Wall Street while working for the McCain campaign as their top financial advisor, and of course asking them to deregulate, as he has done in the past while working for Wall Street. He's talked about the massive global companies that stood to benefit from so-called small business tax cuts. So now I talked to him as well. You'll also see that interview on youtube.com/TYT interviews. But I want to give you a snippet of that as well to give you a sense of how Jonathan was in the building in mainstream media in a lot of ways and saw some of what was going wrong and how we can fix it. Here's a small part of that interview.
What is a quote from Hunter S. Thompson where he talks about them being like fuck-offs and misfits and outsiders and losers? And it's like, the people who would be at the window of the White House Correspondents Association dinner saying, you guys suck, as opposed to being inside eating the food. And so if you're-
We've lost that completely.
If you're happy and wealthy beyond any financial concerns in your life whatsoever, why would you be worried about money in politics, Totally. But the other factor, I think, is that if they're concerned that they don't know how to do the story well, I think people underestimate the CYA dynamic there, which is that every decision they make, like everyone says how ratings-driven TV is, which sort of begs the question of, well, what drives ratings? And to a large extent, the answer is we don't know, right?
Well, I was about to ask you that as the next question.
Which means when they make their decisions about what to do, they want to make sure that they have an explanation for why they did it when it fails. Like most of these decisions are driven by, will I have a good explanation for when it fails?
Well, of course, we're not gonna operate like that. We are going to drive for success. And we define success as doing actual investigative reporting. You'll see that on youtube.com/TYT politics. All of our reporters, the ones we've hired in the past, the ones you've hired in the past, and including these guys, will be driven to break stories, stick to the facts, but also be passionate about the news and about the world around us. And you can do both of those things and deliver great news. One little last fun fact about Jonathan Larson, he also wrote 2 Batman stories for DC Comics. Just when you thought it couldn't get any better. All right, now let me show you the final third bonus. New contributor to the Young Turks. Get a load of this guy.
We owe $70 trillion.
I understand that, but
those due to walk out a $4 trillion solution, which is basically just a way for the Democrats to avoid dealing with this until 2017. I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over.
Oh, there comes Dylan Ratigan off the top row. I love it. Dylan Ratigan, contributor to the Young Turks. Long time coming, brother. Long time coming. So I'm going to show you an old clip of him hosting TYT in the past, but of course he's a New York Times bestselling author on sustainability and of course about the financial misdealings. His book was Greedy Bastards. He's founder of Helical Holdings. He's a sustainability entrepreneur in that role. He's worked at Bloomberg, CNBC, MSNBC. At CNBC, he co-hosted Closing Bell, and he created Fast Money, 2 of their most successful shows. Now, he left CNBC when he realized, hey, you know who created the mess, the financial mess we're in? The bankers, yes. At MSNBC, he was there for 3 years. He actually brought me on to MSNBC. It was the first time I ever filled in for anybody was for Dylan Ratigan. And he has always seen ahead and seen clearly, and he has always held government officials, Republicans, Democrats to account. So when people saw him raging on air like that, well, it went viral, but some in polite circles and in the mainstream media thought, tut, you're not supposed to do that in there. I saw that and I thought, that's my kind of guy. I love it. Now this is Dylan back when he filled in for me on the Young Turks many years ago.
Now, what people probably don't know about me, and it's my own fault because when I go on camera so often, I'll be all worked up, throwing pens like that, all worked up. People like that guy's just all worked up, which is true. I am all worked up. But when I go to bed at night, when I wake up in the morning, and when I think about the work that I'm doing, Cenk's doing, anybody who's basically stepping into the breach that you're doing with with everybody here, that the people that I work with do every day, the fact that we're able to do it is unbelievable. No other country in the world has a press like that, a vote like that, the ability to spend its money the way that we do. We're in a post-feudal era, and the robots haven't taken over yet. As far as I can see, if we get efficient government, discover free energy, we'll be good to go.
Now Young Turk's good to go. How is that for a power lineup? In fact, let me show you the whole lineup here. So as you take a look at all these guys, all I can think of is, now you hired every single one of these guys. Jordan Chariton was the first guy hired, basically built TYT politics, and we hired him because you guys were members and joined at tytnetwork.com/join. And then we started this new campaign. We were able to hire Nomi Konst from Sirius Satellite Radio. She now works for us as a reporter. Sean King from the Daily News. Then Jonathan Larson, and of course Ryan Grimm, Washington Bureau Chief of Huffington Post. David Sirota at International Business Times. Michael Tracy used to be at Vice. Now he's with us as an investigative reporter. And Dylan Radigan now as a contributor. I mean, look at that lineup. All hired by you guys. Thank you. And now it's our turn, and we got to deliver for you guys. So already a lot of those guys have broken huge stories. Jordan broke the Donna Brazil story. He was at Standing Rock first. He was there the longest. He went back the most amount of times. He broke the lead story in Indiana. Nomi covered the DNC chair race like no one else. Interviewed every single person in that race, held them to account, exposed what the DNC consultants are doing. Ryan Grimm interviewed Elizabeth Warren right after the Republicans tried to quiet her and have her not read the letter in the Senate. I've told you all the stories that Sirota's broken, Larson's broken. You know about Radigan. Michael Tracy covering the Democratic town halls better than almost anyone out there. Sean King covering stories of justice and injustice. I love these guys. Thank you guys for making this happen. If you thought the stories they've already broken are great, well, we're at the tip of the iceberg. We've got so much more to cover, all thanks to you. We built this together. Now let's go roll up our sleeves and do even more great work together. You can help hire investigative reporters that'll chase down stories no one else will. Be the media. tytnetwork.com/go.